Hi everyone, I hope you're doing okay. I did it. I made the week with my planner video. It's a really long one, so if you're gonna stick it out and watch the whole thing in one go, I would make sure you have some water or a cup of tea or something. If you're looking for a concise breakdown of how I use my notebooks or something very informative and in-depth about what I'm doing on screen, this isn't the video. I don't think I'm gonna do too much talking about what I'm actually doing. If you're looking for that video, I made it a couple of weeks ago and it's called How I Use My Notebooks, in brackets, update or something like that. And I break my whole system down in there. And I talk about how I'm going to use it and stuff and how I have been using it. So that's not this video. If you're looking for that video, you're lost. It's from 2 weeks ago. You'll find it, I promise. This one is long. I really did it, you guys. You asked for it and I did it, and it's like 3 times as long as I thought it could be. So I hope you enjoy. Please don't let it flop. Okay? It's been really weird trying to put this together all week and like chipping away at it every day, and now trying to sync up the audio is going to be a task, I think. Not a task, a challenge. I'm a bit scared. So don't let it flop, okay? Don't let me down. And I'm going to answer some questions because I didn't want to find 40 minutes of background music. I think that would get quite jarring. So I am going to answer your questions. I asked you and you gave me so many. So I'm going to talk a bit about what I'm doing on screen, and then I'm just going to answer questions for you that you asked. It's a big Q&A. If you don't want to listen to me talking for 40 minutes, especially because I'm cold and my voice is shaky, you can just mute it. That's the nice thing about this video in the end, is that you can straight up just mute me and put on your own music in the background and just sit with me while I work in my planner for a week straight. And that's okay. You have permission to do that. It's all good. Apart from that, this scene that you're seeing right now is from last week. I wanted to include it for the sake of continuity, I guess, or thoroughness, because I started this planner brand new for 2023, like this week. But I did a little bit of setup last week. So all you're watching me do is set up the calendar. And prior to that, I moved my index key across. If you're interested in the breakdown of the index key, it's in the update video, the planner video. So go find it there. I'm not breaking it down again for you here. I already did that, and you can find it. I believe in you. Just setting up my calendar. That's all it is. I'm going to mood track this month. That's what that on the side is. That's new for you. I'm going to mood track. I actually am already 2 days behind. I just realised because I forgot. Okay, that's great. All right. Hope you enjoy. Let's see if I can make this work. So Monday ended up being quite a short day just because I had to take Wednesday to the vet. We had to get an emergency vet appointment. She's okay now. She had a fever. It turned out that she had a fever. That was what was causing the problem. And she got some Calpol. Somewhat hilariously, she's actually too small to have any prescribable amount of paracetamol, which I feel is an achievement on her end. But she had some Calpol and now she's completely back to normal, so all good. In this segment, I wrote in my vet appointment in that first bit, and then I'm going to set up my weekly spread and my hobonichi weeks. This is exactly the same as what I've been using in 2022. Nothing has changed. That's why you'll see me reference my old book throughout, because I think the system worked really well for me last year. Last year, it's December, but you know what I mean, in my last book. I don't really want to change it. I'm happy with it, so that's what I'm doing. Again, the breakdown for how I use this is in the other video, so you can go and find it there. My first question from one of you guys: hi, I was wondering if you could include what type of pens you use in your journals. And I use one pen, singular. I don't use multiple pens. I only use the Pilot Friction pen, which I know is a controversial choice because it's temperature sensitive. That's how the erasing works. I have never experienced any issues personally, which I think is why I still use it. I imagine it only takes one incident to realise that you hate it, but I haven't experienced it. Apparently, if the pen or your book gets too hot or too warm, the ink can just disappear and reappear at will, which sounds kind of fun, but I'm sure isn't if you actually experience it. I don't know if maybe the UK is just the perfect climate for it, but I have had no problems. I don't have problems with the pen being grey or anything either, which I know is another issue. I've used so many. I just refill the cartridge all the time, and I've used so many of them. Ultimately, I think I'm too autistic to really want to change. I like the way this pen writes and feels in my hand. I like how easy it is to buy refills. And I have never personally experienced the witchcraft it is alleged to perform, so I keep taking the chance. I'm not too worried about the longevity, I guess, of my text, which I know is going to probably contradict the rest of my answers to the rest of this video, but for me the writing is really important in the moment. I don't know if it's so important afterwards. I do refer back to my Commonplace books a lot, so if the ink starts to fade really badly, then it might be an issue. But I have a few books at the moment that are like 5 or 6 years old, and the ink isn't fading yet. So in that respect, I'm not too worried. So long as I keep them like climate controlled, if you will, I'm not too concerned, because I know that in 10 years' time, I'm probably not going to be referencing my early adulthood in my weird little journals. Like, it's just me chatting shit to myself all day and like talking about Sherlock Holmes. Like, I'm probably not going to need to re-reference that in 10 years time. And in that respect, it's kind of nice, because I do kind of like the idea of it having a lifespan. Like, one day, like, you can't just reread them in 20 years time. I think it's kind of nice that they will fade. Maybe they'll just start to show their age, and that's kind of nice too. Like, I don't think everything is meant to last forever, even though I feel like I'm kind of an archivist in some ways, or a collector in some ways. I like the idea of some things not lasting forever too, especially when they're as inconsequential as my books. So the too long didn't listen to that is that I use Pilot Friction pens. The only other thing I use in my books is a mechanical pencil. Just Pilot Friction and mechanical pencils. That is how I live. Really probably on borrowed time, but there we go. Another question was how I keep things tidy, and to be honest, they're not, they're just small. Super simple answer for that, because I'm running out of time in this segment, but I just keep things small and in boxes, and then they look tidier than they are. So in this segment, I am just catching up on my weekly spread. I don't think I did a lot on Tuesday because it was so dark, and I was conscious about not doing too much bookwork while I was sat downstairs with the dog because I wanted to film it for this video. So I was catching up on Wednesday with my journal entries on the left and my tasks on the right. And then I think after a bit, I do some work in my Commonplace book, which is pretty standard. Okay, next question. I was wondering what got you started with commonplacing and planning. I know you've said in the past that it's because you have memory issues, but I'm wondering why you came to journaling as the primary over other means of memory keeping or using digital methods such as Gcal/Notion or a journaling app. I suppose I'm asking why analog and not digital, and is it for reasons other than memory preservation, or is it purely that? So I actually had a period of time where I thought digital planning and journaling and memory keeping, basically digital commonplacing in all ways, was going to be the answer. I tried a bunch of journaling apps, things like Day One. I used an app called Bear for a long time, and I did eventually try Notion as well, but I found them all to be, like, the first two were just missing some stuff. I really loved the customization of Notion, that was a big pull for me. But I don't think Notion is a reliable app, and I will say it with my chest. Notion is great, but they have security issues, and also there's a famous problem where if you lose your account, they just won't really help you get it back or anything, you just lose everything. The app is also known to be glitchy across devices. I was really only using it on web because that's where it's the most reliable. I haven't used it in a while, so if you're interested in reading about its current problems, you can look on the subreddit. It's just r/Notion. They talk about it a lot there. Ultimately, Notion just had these reoccurring small problems that I felt really let me down over time, so I was too scared to like really commit to it. I didn't feel that my information was safe, both in like a privacy sense and also in like a not randomly losing it all one day sense. So eventually that's why I quit digital. I just never found a way that I was comfortable with fully keeping stuff digital long term, I guess. And then lapsing back into analog was really easy for me. It was almost effortless. I grew up analog because I was born in the late 90s. I am a 97 baby. So when I was a kid, computers were still pretty rare at home. Like, we had them, but they were these huge, chunky, weird things. Or in school, they were literally those big white brick computers and stuff like that. It wasn't common, like we didn't have smartphones yet or anything. I think I didn't get my first phone until I was 11 or 12, and it was like a really crap little Nokia. So no technology when I was a kid, basically. Or modern technology as we know it anyway. So analog was what you had, and I compulsively was keeping notebooks since I was a kid. I was always really, really drawn to it. I don't really know why. I guess maybe it was an early special interest, and because I was an undiagnosed autistic kid with special interests, I wanted somewhere to put that stuff. I wanted to be able to collect that information. I used to make massive written out notebooks about like ancient Egypt and stuff. If you know the ology books, it's like Egyptology, but I did it myself by hand in like a math book that I stole from an empty classroom, like the empty like textbooks. So yeah, I think then coming back to analog was super easy for me. I dabbled in bullet journaling when I was in uni, and my planning evolved quite naturally from that. Eventually, I tried hobonichi when I had the money, and I never looked back, really. I've been testing different hobonichi books sort of ever since. I had a really long run using the Leuchtturm notebooks. Someone told me my pronunciation was almost perfect, so I'm gonna go with that, thank you. I accept. I don't think it is, but I'm taking that and running. I had a really long go with their notebooks, but then one day they made the grids too dark and they told me it was a temporary thing, and it wasn't. They lied to me. The customer service lied to me. So I stopped using their books. I don't like it when the grid is too dark. In the field notes, it's like a pale yellow grid, which is weird, but okay. Hobonichi, super light grey. The Leuchtturm books now have like a black grid and it hurts my eyes. I don't know if that's the autism or the migraine proneness speaking, but God, it hurts. And I'm not alone in that. I know that for a fact. So then eventually found my way to hobonichi and to my current planning system, and then eventually found my way to field notes for commonplacing. So the too long didn't read for that one is it was quite natural for me. I had a long childhood of using notebooks. I've always been a little book thief, stealing empty books from my classrooms and filling them with nonsense. I've always really, really been into keeping books and drawing things out by hand, and I think it was just an easy way for me to get back into it. Like it just happened and I never looked back. I'm not really sure how to explain it. Like it was always nature for me, even as a child. So to fall back into it in my time at uni and my early adulthood was like effortless almost. Like it was like coming home, not to be really cliched, but I was like, oh, this is familiar. Like I know my place here. Like this is fine. This is good. So that's why analog and not digital. Digital, I don't know. Also, there's the fact of writing by hand. I think in Commonplace, like when you write by hand, it puts it in your head better. Like there must be a better way to say that. I think it sticks better when you write it by hand. When you type it out or when you copy and paste it or you save a link, I don't think it's the same as sitting there and writing out each word of I almost said an essay, an article. I'm not really reading essays. It's different. It sticks better. You're copying those words out by hand, and there's something kind of sacred about that. Not to be like really like precious about it, but it feels different. It feels special. I love to collect those words and to read them and to really feel them and then put them on paper, and that act of like archiving them almost, like at least for the time being, like I like that. I really like that. I love the deliberate act of it. It's one thing to copy and paste stuff. We do that all the time because we live in a digital world. But to have the choice to sit with a notebook and copy out an article by hand feels so deliberate. I just think there's something about very present, deliberate acts that we're losing, I guess. Like, not to be really weird and sappy, but I stand by it. Like, I think that is the big pull for me, is that it's almost like meditating. Like, not literally, but there's something about it, I guess. I'll move on. Someone asked, do you plan your layout for each page prior to making it, or do you just write what you need and then design around your writing? And I don't really plan, no. I don't plan layouts in advance, especially not in my head, because I have alexithymia. I can't see anything at all in my head. I have like a complete alexithymia. So I don't plan in advance. Mostly what I'll do is if I have a photo or something small, like a stamp to stick in, I'll do that first and plan where I want that to go on the page. I have preferences for this, like corners and stuff. I'll stick those in first and then write around them, and then sometimes what I'll do is go back through and stick other stuff on top, normally bigger stuff. There are some instances in my Commonplace book where I literally stick like an index card over an entire page because the pen was running out, and every time I look back through the book I can see the thin pen. I get really annoyed, and so I'll just like wreck on it by putting an index card over the top. So no, I don't really plan it, but I'm not too precious about it, if that makes sense. It's mostly just, it's easier to put the pictures first because then you can move around them, and it just makes sense to me that way, I guess. No planning, just preference, I guess. Let me see if I have another shorter question to do for the next bit. Do you carry your field notes book everywhere with you? When you get a thought or see a quote you want to write, do you copy it immediately or have time set out in the day for that? And generally speaking, I plan in the mornings in my hobonichi weeks, and then I normally dip in and out of my Commonplace book the rest of the day, but I do a lot in the evenings after hours, I think, when my dad is upstairs and we've had dinner and I'm downstairs with the dog and like just sitting on the sofa and stuff. I'll do quite a lot then. I guess just decompressing. It's part of my decompression for the day. But I do dip in and out of both of them throughout the day. But I think for my weeks, my hobonichi weeks especially, like I do that every morning, and that helps me like remind myself of what I need to do, like my tasks and stuff. But my Commonplace I dip in and out of, and I do carry it everywhere, all the time. I take it to the shops, I take it around the house, I change room with it all the time. Like it comes everywhere. That's the one I carry, and that's why I like that it's small and I change books so quickly. If I want to write something while I'm out, sometimes I'll go to a coffee shop and do it. Otherwise, I will just sort of make a note in my notes app and then do it when I get home. So it kind of depends. I do carry my field notes book everywhere, that is true. As for when I get a thought or see a quote I want to write, if I'm at home at my desk, because I work at my desk, like I sometimes will just copy it out straight away. Otherwise, I will like bookmark it and come back to it in the evening when I feel like I'm ready to sit down and spend some proper time with my book. But it's pretty simple as that, really. Just sort of like, if I'm out, then maybe not, but if I'm at home, then probably yeah. And I do spend a lot of time at home. I actually finished this field notes book that you're seeing the flip through of on screen. I'm super excited. This is my first complete one, and I persevered through the coffee spill. And I'm pretty proud of myself for that because it stank. So, super happy with that. On the Thursday, we had the best fog I think I've seen since this time last year. And it's not relevant to the video at all, but I really wanted to include it because I love fog and it absolutely made my week. I think you should see it. So there's your pylon check if you can make it out. In my books on this day, I was setting up my new field notes book because I completed the previous one, much to my delight, I guess. So I was prepping like a cue card for the archive box, and then I was prepping the old book to be archived and then the new book to be used, I guess. Super simple. I will answer a question. Someone asked, for the field notes, do you transfer those notes into your main week's book, or do all of your notebooks exist together in different sizes based on the need of the day? And that's a really good question that I hadn't actually thought about, because in my previous week's book that I just finished, I was commonplacing in the notes pages, but now I have field notes, so I don't need to do that in the same way. What I think I might do is just put some stuff in the week's book and other stuff in my field notes. Maybe the stuff that I want to carry longer term, I'll put in the week's book. So like references of reading lists and stuff will go in there rather than in the Commonplace, which changes over so quickly, especially if I end up using a book a month. Obviously, that's quite a quick turnover. I'm not sure I'd actually be able to keep up with that, but I am pretty impressed that I did my whole first field notes in November, completely unintentionally. It just happened that way. 12 books in a year would be really neat though, but I don't think I'll manage to keep it up. So I think I'll put more reference-based commonplace stuff in the notes pages of my Hobonichi weeks, and then I'll keep everything else in my commonplace book, my field notes, as normal. Generally speaking, to answer your specific question, no, I don't transfer notes from my commonplace / field notes to my Hobonichi weeks book. They do just exist together, you're right. They're not, it's not like my field notes is like a rough version and then my Hobonichi weeks is a neat version. It's not really like that. They coexist. And I use them in tandem for different things, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Someone asked, how do you decide what's important enough to write down and where to put it within your system? And the second half of that is really easy because there isn't really places within my system, apart from the stuff I just mentioned about keeping references in my Hobonichi weeks. Then obviously that would go there. But otherwise, I organize things. I'm trying to think, sorry. I organize things with that index system with the sticker dots, which I thought was a really common thing, but people are always so amazed in the comments that I'm starting to think it's not as common as I thought it was. I thought it was a huge thing. I didn't invent it. It's a very big thing, I swear. So I organize entries by topic with the sticker dot, basically. So if it's a journal entry, then I mark it yellow, and if it's a work thing, I mark it blue. If it's a quote or something, or copied text, like commonplace, like specifically, then it's green. So I don't put it within a system. It just is within the system, and then it gets tagged accordingly, if that makes sense. Everything is thrown in together like a really bad bowl of cereal. And then what was the first half? How do you decide what is important enough? Super easy for this. I am the autistic equivalent of a hoarder, but with paper. So I if I see it and I like it, then I just take it. I'm not precious about it. I think that the smallest things are just as important as your biggest feelings. Like the smallest observations, I think, are comparable to life-changing events. I like to keep all of it. I don't want to pick and choose the parts of the experience that I keep. not, at least not with such a fine process. Like, it's really just like if I want to think about it or write about it or keep it or muse about it, then I will. It's not really a things are more important than others. It's really just everything that I'm thinking about, I just put there because I'm thinking on the paper usually. So it's not really deciding what's important enough, because everything is important enough. If it's something that's concerning me or interesting me or bothering me or something I'm struggling to think about or make sense of, then it's important enough to go in the books. And that's really as simple as it is, because they're my space, they're my support, my companion, I don't know, my therapist maybe, because they're my main coping tool for everything. Everything goes in. It's not really, there's nothing too important or not important enough. So some post arrived this morning. Today is Friday, we're caught up. Which I didn't think would actually arrive in time for this video, but it did. For those of you who remember, my previous cover for my hobonichi weeks suffered during the coffee spill. I put it in a box of bicarb for weeks and I can't get the smell out, and it does make me want to die just a little bit. And by a little bit, I mean like it makes me want to have a full-blown autistic meltdown because the smell is so strong. I think because it was vegan leather, maybe the smell just really got into like the sponginess of the fabric, because it was almost like woolly inside, and I couldn't cope. So I got a new one, because I want my weeks to be protected, especially because it's that gold covered paper. Like, I am worried about it sustaining damage over time. So I ordered this one. I will put the shop in the description for it. And when I tell you, I realized I could fit it in the cover with the cover on cover still on. And I didn't think it would fit, but it did. And I didn't ask for that, I forgot. But I'm so happy that it fits, because I really wanted to keep it in the cover on cover, and I kind of forgot about that when I was ordering it. So just super, super lucky. I'm literally thrilled though. So thrilled. And obviously the leather will loosen up with time, and then it will fit even better. But it does fit. And it wasn't that much of a squeeze. I am literally landed. And it's super cute with the field notes, and those like copper rivets on the back. They're not copper, they're brass. They're like antique brass. I just think it looks so pretty. I'm really happy with it. So here's praying no coffee spills, because I don't know what I'll do if there's a massive coffee spill again. I think I would just have to like yeet myself off a cliff. Like the devastation that one cup of coffee caused in my life, I tell you. I will never recover. Okay. In this section, I am catching up in my weeks again, just filling out the rest of the week because I got a bit behind because I was distracted with my field notes. And then after that, I do some more field note stuff, I think. So I'm going to answer the last couple of questions. What do you do with all the completed planners? How do you organise everything? And some of you might gasp to hear this if you've been following me a long time, but I don't actually keep that many of my old planners. I don't have that many of them. I have most of my A6 Leuchtturm books, but nothing from before that. So if you followed me on Tumblr back in the day and saw those notebooks, they're long gone, baby. I have my old Leuchtturm books in a box. That's it. They're just in a box. They're not even like lovingly in there. They're just chucked in there because I'm really embarrassed about them. I don't really look at those ones because they're so old, which I think is why, or part of the reason, I'm not so worried about losing the text in these ones eventually, because those Leuchtturm books, the A6 books, are only like 5 or 6 years old maybe, and I already think they're so irrelevant to where I'm at now. But maybe it's different now that I have a better commonplacing system. We'll see. Only time can tell. My field notes books, as you saw, go in the wooden archive box, and because I only have one semi-completed hobonichi book, I don't know where I'm going to put them at the moment. I have all my A6 hobonichi books and my spare covers and stuff just like in one of the hobonichi shipping boxes that are branded, and I just keep that under my desk, not gonna lie. They're all just in a box. I need to work out a better system of storing them after. I guess maybe when I have a couple I can put them on a bookshelf. Something like that, but I don't know for now. I will just say that I love the wooden archive field notes box though. I think that's great. I would love that for all my notebooks, but I don't know how to make them. I usually use my planner as a support system, but there are weeks when it just stays blank and I feel absolutely lost. Do you have a specific routine that helps you not miss days? And again, this is, I don't know why I put this one in, maybe because I think it's the same answer as before, but I do planning in the mornings, and that's how I remember mostly, is that because I do it first thing, it just helps me remind myself of the things I have to do and stuff like that. And then because I sit at my desk all day with my books, it's very easy to just dip in and out of them. I think this was why changing to the hobonichi weeks from the A6 Techo was so important for me, because it means that all week I'm looking at the same running list. I'm not changing day and turning pages. I'm consistently being reminded of the list of things I have to do. I can't lose them anywhere. It is as simple as like permanently carrying my books around and making sure that that spread is open, so I'm constantly reminded of what I have to do. And always doing it first thing in the morning too is a big thing for me. That's my routine that helps me not miss it. And someone said, I'm curious what other people in your life think of your journaling. Do you share with them about your notebooks? Do any of your friends in real life also enjoy journaling? I'm not sure what they think. I think they just think, oh, Megan is so silly, thank God she has somewhere else to put words that isn't my ear. I talk too much, so I think they're probably relieved that at least half of that like never-ending thought spiral goes somewhere other than the kitchen. I do share with them, like they know about my books. They're always around, so they all know it exists. They all know that I'm on YouTube sharing them with you guys. Like it's very known in my family. I'm kind of renowned for it, but I don't think they really care. Not in a mean way, just in like this is just a part of me way, so they're very used to it all. I don't think they give much of it any second thought. I think they just know that it's a part of who I am, and you know, I keep books and they're like, cool. I don't think they're particularly curious about the contents or anything. No one's ever really asked to look through them, so that's fine. My writing's not legible anyway, so I'm not really concerned about that. Do any of my friends in real life also enjoy journaling? And I was thinking about this and I'm not sure. I do have to say that I don't have that many real life friends though. I mostly have a couple of friends from childhood that I'm really close with, and then I have some autistic friends that I made as an adult. I don't think any of them journal, at least not in the way that I do, if that makes sense. I think some of them might have planners for work and stuff, but I don't think it's with the same intensity. I do have a lot of mutuals online though that I've met throughout my time on the internet, like pre-uni till now, that do journal, and I talk to them a lot about journaling, and that's really nice. We can share pictures and stuff. Someone said, oh, I wanted to answer this one, I popped it on the end. How do you handle daily/weekly tasks or must-dos? I have bad days where I forget to take my meds or even eat sometimes. I'm thinking I just need to start a daily checklist with even basic things and carry my planner with me 24/7. Yeah, this is what I would do. If I got to a place where I was struggling that badly, I've been there before. Most of the time it's okay now, mostly I think just because I live with someone though, so they're always cooking and eating. So we're on the same schedule and that just helps. It's just because my dad cooks dinner and then we have dinner, so I think that's why I remember to eat nowadays. Also I have a dog, so that definitely puts you on a routine for feeding. I would, if I was in this situation again, I would 100% just break down those tasks and keep track of them, and then just carry the book with you as often as you can. I think you've cracked the answer there. I don't think there's a better answer or a simpler answer than that. I think you're on the right track. I think that is the one. So stick with it, and I hope it works for you. And then a final question, maybe share some tips on starting a journal/planner. I'm sometimes too nervous to actually use my books since they're so pretty and I'm afraid I'll mess it up. And just start, like, not to be funny. And I think I'm running out of footage, but honestly the hardest part is starting, so just start. Like I did with this little field notes that you're seeing on screen now. I did my index first, but when I was starting the first one, I didn't have that yet. And I just put a stamp in the corner, and then I wrote the word hello at the top. And then I underlined it, and then I just started writing, and it's really as simple as that. Just, like, introduce yourself. Like, I know it sounds silly, but it is an easy way to start. Find a nice sticker and pop it in the corner or something, and then just write hello, and then just start writing, and then just don't stop writing. That's the secret. I don't know if that's too simple, but does that make sense? Like, and then when I set this one up, I did the same thing. I put a new stamp in the corner and I wrote hello again. And then I moved my index system and then I just wrote a bit. And now I can just start from the next page like normal. It is just that first page, I think, that's daunting. Like, as soon as you've done that, it's fine. Like, you'll whiz through it. It'll be okay. So I recommend just saying hello and maybe write what your intentions are for the book, I guess. Like, in this one, I was writing about a potential zine I'm going to start work on, just to get that little space filled so it started. And that's what I recommend, really, I think. Okay, I think that's all my questions, and we're running out of footage. I'm going to put some B-roll. Thank you for watching. I'm sorry I couldn't answer all the questions. I got way more than I thought I would. I'll try and go through that section in the community and answer some more of them, but if you have questions that I didn't answer or you have new questions, you can put them in the comments and I'll answer them for you. I'll make sure I keep on top of it this week. Hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching to the end if you did. Hope you enjoy watching this one, like rewatching it with the sound off, because I know some of you rewatch them and I rewatch a lot of other people's. So I hope this one is a good one for the sound off when you're studying or something. I worked really hard on it. I'm quite happy with it, so hope you liked it. And I will see you next week.